Dr. Mamata Kyar, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Tiptur. So now I explain about the problem on flexible budget. This is the problem. Expenses for budgeted production of 10,000 units in a factory are given below. Per unit in rupees, materials 70, labor 25, variable overhead rupees 20, fixed overhead rupees 1 lakh, per unit rupees 10, variable expenses indirect per unit rupees 5, selling expenses, that is 10% fixed, per unit rupees 13, distribution expenses 20% fixed, per unit in rupees 7, administration expenses rupees 50,000, per unit rupees 5, total cost per unit to make and sell 155 per unit. Prepare a budget for production of 8,000 units, 6,000 units and indicate cost per unit at both the levels. So this is the problem. In this problem, the expenses for budgeted production of 10,000 units in a factory are given below. So 10,000 units ಅನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅವರು ಬಡ್ಜೆಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕೆಳಕಂಡಂತಿದೆ. ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟಿಗೆ 70 ರೂಪೀಸ್, ಲೇಬರ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟಿಗೆ 25 ರೂಪೀಸ್, ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಓವರ್ ಹೆಡ್ ರೂಪೀಸ್ 20,000 and the fixed overhead amount rupees 1 lakh. The fixed overhead is always constant in every level, that is the 8,000, 6,000 and 10,000 units. The cost per unit are the rupees 10. So here the amount are the same, but the cost per unit will become the changes. And the next two, variable expenses, it is in direct. So that amount are rupees 5 rupees per unit. And then selling expenses. In the selling expenses, the 10% are fixed. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ per unit amount 13 rupees ಇದೆ. ಈ 13 ಅಲ್ಲಿ 10% fixed ಆಗಿದೆ. The remaining 90% are variable. So fixed ಅಲ್ಲಿ amount ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ 10% ಆಫ್ ದ 13 ಆರ್ ದ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ 90% ಆಫ್ ದ 13 ಆರ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್, ಹಿಯರ್ ದ 20% ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್. ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಆರ್ rupees 7. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ 7 rupees, the 20% are fixed, the remaining 80% are variable. And the next one, administration expenses, here rupees 50,000. So this 50,000 are the amount, so it is treated as the fixed overhead. So 50,000 are the fixed overhead. The cost per unit are rupees 5. So this 50,000 is constant in all units. Total cost per unit to make and sell. So ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಮಾರಾಟ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಿರೋಂಥ ಒಟ್ಟು ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿದೆ, 155 rupees. ಸೊ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಎ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ 8,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್, 6,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್ 8,000 ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ 6,000ಗೆ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟ್ ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅಟ್ ಬೋತ್ ದ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಎರಡು ಲೆವೆಲ್ಸು ಹಾಗೆ 10,000 ಸೇರಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟನ್ನು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿ ಹೌ ಟು ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್. ದ ಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್, particulars 6,000 units per unit and total, 8,000 unit per unit and total, 10,000 units per unit and total. So under the flexible budget, here first we are enter the material. The cost per unit of the material at 10,000 unit. So 10,000 units level alli cost per unit material estiде 70 rupees. So that is entered here. So now we find out the total amount. So it is calculated as the 70 rupees was the cost per unit. The 70 rupees into number of units produced. That is the 10,000. So 10,000 into 70. Now the total amount are 7 lakh rupees. And the next, for the 6,000 unit, the cost per unit are the same. That is the 70 rupees. So now the total amount are calculated as the 70 rupees into 6,000 unit. So now the total amount are 4,20,000 rupees. And for the 8,000 unit, the per unit are the same. That is the 70 per unit, and it is multiplied with the number of units produced. That is the 8,000. So 70 into 8,000, 5,60,000. So it is the calculation of materials. And the next one, that is the labor. The labor per unit under the 10,000 units. So that is 25 rupees. So 10,000 units production ge labor per cost amount estiде 25 rupees ide. And now we calculate the total amount as the 25 into 10,000 units. So now the total amount are 2,50,000. And the next we calculate for the 6,000 unit. So here the cost per unit are the same. That is the 25 rupees, and it is multiplied with the 6,000 unit. So 25 into 6,000, that amount are 1,50,000 rupees. And next for the 8,000, the cost per unit rupees 25, and the 25 are multiplied with the 8,000 unit. So now the total amount are rupees 2 lakh. So this is the labor. And the next one, that is the variable overhead. The variable overhead, the cost per unit are rupees 20 under 10,000 units. Okay, that is the 20 under the 10,000 unit. Now we calculate the total amount as the 20 into 10,000. The total amount are rupees 2 lakh. And 6,000 units, here also the cost per unit are the same. That is the 20. So now we calculate the total amount as the 20 into 6,000. So the total amount are 1,20,000 rupees. For the 8,000 unit, the cost per unit rupees 20, and the total amount are calculated as the 20 into 8,000. So now the amount are 1,60,000. So ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಓವರ್ಹೆಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. And the next one, that is the fixed overhead. So in the fixed overhead, the amount are constant in each units level. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಆಗಲಿ 8,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ 10,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಅಂಡರ್ ದ 10,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ the cost per unit are rupees 10, the amount are 1 lakh. And for the 6,000 unit, the amount are the same, that is the 1 lakh rupees. So now we calculate the cost per unit. So it is calculated as the 1 lakh rupees divided by 6,000 units. So ಈ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. that is the 16.67. And the next, for the 8,000 unit, the total amount are 1 lakh rupees, and now the cost per unit are calculated as the 1 lakh divided by 8,000. So now the cost per unit are 12.5 rupees. And the next one, that is the variable expenses direct. So here the variable expenses, the cost per unit or the 5 under the 10,000 unit, it is entered here and the amount are calculated as the 5 into 10,000 units. So now the total amount are rupees 50,000. So here also we are entered under the 6,000 unit, the cost per unit rupees 5 and the total amount are calculated as the 5 into 6,000. So now the total amount are rupees 30,000. So similarly we are calculated to the 8,000 unit, the cost per unit are rupees 5 and 5 into 8,000 unit. So total amount are 40,000 rupees. And the next one, that is the selling expenses. It is continued in the same format. That is the selling expenses. In the selling expenses, the 10% are fixed. So here the cost per unit are rupees 13. In this 13 rupees, the 10% are fixed and the remaining 90% are variable. Okay, so 13 into 10 divided by 100. So that is the fixed under the 10,000 units. So now the cost per unit are 1.3. So now we calculate the total amount as 1.3 into 10,000. Now the total amount are rupees 13,000. So in the fixed amount, this amount are constant in each level. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೇಮ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ 6,000 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, 13,000 ರುಪೀಸೇ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ 13,000 total amount, we find out the cost per unit. So this cost per unit are calculate as the 13,000 divided by 6,000 unit. So the cost per unit are 2.17. Under the 8,000 units, so amount are the same, that is the 13,000 rupees. The cost per unit are calculate as the 13,000 divided by 8,000. So now the cost per unit are 1.625. So fixed alli amount same irutte, but cost per unit ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, changes ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. And the next, the selling price, the remaining 10% ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್ 90% ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್. That means the 13 into 90 divided by 100. So under the 10,000 unit, now the cost per unit are 11.7. So cost per unit in each level ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೇಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So now the amount are calculated under the 10,000 unit as the 11.7 into 10,000. The amount are 1,17,000. And next under the 6,000 unit, the cost per unit are 11.7 rupees. So this 11.7 rupees is multiplied with the 6,000 units. Now the total amount are 70,200 rupees. And the next, in the 8,000 unit, the cost per unit are the same, that is the 11.7. So now the total amount, that is 11.7 into 8,000, the total amount are 93,600 rupees. And the next, that is the distribution expenses. In the distribution expenses, the 20% are fixed. The amount are 7. So in the 7 rupees, the 20% are fixed. The remaining 80% are variable. So 7 into 20 divided by 100 are the fixed amount under the 10,000 units is rupees 1.4 rupees. So now the amount are 1.4 into 10,000. So that total amount 14,000 rupees. So now the amount are same in all levels. The 14,000 under the 6,000. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಈ ಅಮೌಂಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ದ 14,000 rupees divided by 6,000. The cost per unit are rupees 2.33 under 6,000 units. And the next, in the 8,000 unit, the amount are also same, that is the 14,000 rupees. So 14,000 divided by 8,000. So now the cost per unit are 1.75. And the next, the 20% are fixed, the remaining 80% are variable. The 80% variable. So here it is calculated as the total cost per unit for the distribution expenses are 7 rupees. So 7 into 80 divided by 100. So now the cost per unit are 5.6 under the 10,000 unit. So now we calculate total amount as 5.6 into 10,000 units. The total amount are 56,000. So under the 6,000 unit, here the cost per unit are the constant. Variable ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ 6,000 ಯೂನಿಟಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡೋಣ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ 5.6 and it is multiplied with the 6,000 unit. So 5.6 into 6,000 amount are rupees 33,600 rupees. And in the 8,000 unit, the cost per unit are the 5.6 into 8,000. So the total amount are 44,800. And the next, that is the administration expenses. In the problem, the administration expenses. For the administration expenses, the amount are 50,000 rupees. The cost per unit are the rupees 5. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೌಂಟನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ it is treated as the fixed. So the 50,000 are the constant in all levels. So first we are entered under the 10,000 unit. The cost per unit are the 5 rupees and the amount are 50,000. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಮೌಂಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಸೇಮ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 6,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, 50,000 ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ 8,000 ಯೂನಿಟಲ್ಲಿ 50,000 ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ 6,000 ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ದ 50,000 divided by 6,000. The cost per unit are 8.33 rupees. So in the 8,000 unit, here the total amount are the same, that is the 50,000 rupees, and the cost per unit are calculated as the 50,000 divided by 8,000. So that is the 6.25 rupees. So this is the administration expenses. And the next, the last one, the total cost. Here we take the total of variable and fixed. So all expenses, the material, labor, variable overhead, fixed overhead, variable expenses, selling expenses, distribution expenses and administration expenses. ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೋಟಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವಿ ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಆಫ್ per unit, the cost per unit under the 6,000 unit, that is 166.8 rupees. The total cost of the 6,000 unit, that is the 10,800 rupees. Under the 8,000 unit, the cost per unit are 159.425 and the total amount 12,75,400 rupees. Under the 10,000 unit, the cost per unit are 155 rupees and the total amount are 15,50,000. The total amount under the 10,000 units are 15,50,000 rupees. So in this way, we'll solve the flexible budget.